Hello everyone, this is Mr.arorora. Welcome to my first episode of creating a 3D character, a mech, in Blender. So, before we begin, I would like to explain why are we using this concept art and what will we use it for. So, before we model any 3D character or car, object, or anything in particular, we alright, we opened our Photoshop file and we imported our image. So we need to understand what kind of character is this. Because before we create anything, we need to understand the design flow, the characteristics, and the design language. These sound a little complicated, but when you understand the process and why we do these things, it will be much more clearer and simpler. Now, I'm going to show you, while drawing on this character, first thing first. This is a military vehicle, so the design language is simple and efficient. When we look at other militaristic cars, mechs, or designs, we can see that it has lots of armor plating, lots of bold, solid shapes, and it is also aggressive. When you are trying to threaten your enemies or opponents, we go for more aggressive designs. We need to understand that. So, as you can see, I am blocking out the shapes of the main parts of the body. I'm separating the body into little parts and seeing what I need to give attention to. As you can see, this armor plate, for example, this crotch plate, is a simple shape. For example, we can model this out of a single plane in Blender. This will help us, this drawing on this character will help us understand the shapes and what we need to do while modeling in Blender. As you can see, our character is almost symmetrical. The main difference it has, in one arm it has a missile launcher and in the other it has a machine gun. So, these little details will give character and purpose to our character. As you can see, I will always like to begin from the top to the I'm sorry, from the bottom to top. For like our ancestor said, Mr. Bob Ross, making little mistakes is always pleasurable. Is always a good thing. Without mistakes, we can't learn. Now, as you can see, I am drawing the legs of the character at first, separating into shapes. As you can see, there's an upper leg, the knee joint, and the shin part. Now, this kind of mech has a heavy load on its top, so to distribute and better balance itself, it has chicken-like legs and horse-like hooves at its front, and two little fingers or one little finger at its back. Depending on your choice, I'm just going to go from this front image. I only have this concept art, so I'm going to imagine the rest. As you can see, the missile launcher and the machine gun are connected to the torso via little ports. In those ports, we have pistons, rods, and other stuffs, or cables and other stuff. So these parts in this design are well hidden because it needs to hide the weak parts. These are the weak parts of the mech. As you can see, the most parts are armored and always have an angular shape. And if you ask why military cars or tanks, for example, have angular shapes, it is the deflect ammunition. Because when you have an angular shape, the projectile coming from front will collide with your armor plating and bounce off. But if you have a straight forward plane there, it will just punch through it. Or if the shape is too curved, it will be much harder to put armor plating on top of it. So, main shapes are always angular and blocky. Now, we understand that. Now we can go to Blender and start modeling our character. Now, we're back to Blender. Now, first of all, we always need a reference image. Whatever we're working on, it's always important to have a reference image at all times in front of us, so that we can always see what we are working on. And this is always important in every major part of design procedure, or anyone who designs, draws, having a reference is always good. Now, let's add a simple cube. I'm not going to explain how to move these shapes and other stuffs. These are basic stuff, so I'm not going to show them at this moment. But if you want to learn about these basic tools and UI parts of Blender, we can work on that as well. Now, let's add a simple mirror modifier to our cube, then we can begin working on it. Now, I would like to start from the shins. Those are one of the most prominent parts of this mech design. As we can see, those take a lot of place, and all of the motion and movement relies on these. So we need to begin with these. Okay, let's begin simply dishing out the simple shapes. We're going to add some cuts along the middle of this so that we can start giving it more shape. So first thing first, we are creating an animation ready model, so we don't need too much detail or too much vertices or faces in that regard, because creating faces will cause you to drop frame rates while rendering, and it will take much more time than you would like. Also, we don't need that much vertices nor lines, faces. This is just for an animation, so we don't need so much detail. Okay, this is a simple block out shape of the shin, but it feels empty because we are not able to see the whole character like that. So let's add some more cubes and put them together and dish out the base form of the character, you know, the silhouette. Let's create the silhouette, then we can slowly add details. That's the neat part. When we create the silhouette of the character, the details and the rest are coming together slowly. So let's just do that. A cube here, a cube there. Yes, as you can see, it's slowly resembling the character we're trying to model. This is just for example, by the way. I already modeled the character beforehand. I'm here to just show you the ropes, because every person has their own ways of designing and modeling these kind of characters. So I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm here to just show the ropes and my process of design and explain it thoroughly so that you can understand what you're doing and have a better idea of what is this process is going to be and how is it going to turn out. Okay. When that's clear, you can see the bigger picture one step at a time. Yes, now we can see the main silhouette of the character and we have a general idea of what we're going to make and how it's going to end up. As you can see, this is my own model that I modeled beforehand, before this tutorial. As we can see, it is made out of parts, armor bits, fingers, leg pieces. Nothing is combined. Why? Because creating a single character out of a single model is going to take you much more time, and applying modifiers and other tools will be much harder, and it will cause your render and computer to lag, slow down. So we don't want that. We want clear, simple shapes and pieces for our character to be separate at the first stages of our modeling, so that we can go into the parts much more easier and edit them much more easier. Now, let me show you how I modeled the shins from the beginning, so that you have a better idea of what I'm doing. As we can see, we just have a simple mirror modifier at this point. Now, we separated our model and extruded some parts. Now, we will slowly insert more lines, edges, and pieces. And slowly give it a more complex and refined shape. Now, let's pull those up, add a little cut there, add another cut there, and a loop here. As we can see from the reference image, that place is empty. So let's delete those faces, extrude these edges, and resize them to give that bevel. And extrude it out. Voila. As we can as you can see, it is slowly looking like our concept art. And while we're modeling it, try to make sure to always have quads, not triangles or spheres. We are creating an angular character, so we need to make sure the edge flow and the vertices are distributed evenly, so that it will give it a better result and a better look when we are done with it. Now, as you can see, let's move that a little to the left, a little to the right, and there we go. The main shape is almost there. At this stage, we are just trying to make it look similar to the concept art. We're just blocking up the shape and slowly making it exactly what we want. As you can see, there's multiple ways of extruding that part. I simply prefer to have another piece and extrude that and put it there, just like that, so that I don't mess with the topology of the shin while trying to extrude something from nowhere. But when we're trying to print or have a high quality model, this is not the way to go. This is just to make my job easier for animation. Okay, so we just use bevel, duplicated faces, extruded them, and moved them. As you can see, by just doing those, we got our shin. Now let's add our hooves. As you can see, we can just simply dish out the shape from just a block. Always have it in mind to learn the tools and how to use those tools with a shortcut. It will take less time when you learn the shortcuts. For example, to move edges easily, we're just going to select the edges and press G, and we can move it in any direction. But if you want to lock it in one direction, we can just select the edges, press G, then we press on the axis that we want to move it along with. For example, pressing Z will lock it to the Z axis. Pressing X will lock it to X axis, and pressing Y will lock the... You get the idea. Or if you want to slide your edge, not move it, you just double press on G and it will slide on. Simple as that. And every shortcut you learn will be a huge benefit for you in the future. Now, okay, let's we can create the knees at this point to have a better idea. And it's just so easy to create a cylinder like that. Add edge loops there, choose the faces, insert a face, then resize it, insert a face, extrude it inwards. Voila! Now we have a little cylinder, or a bushing for our legs to hold on to.
And when you press O, you open the selection for choosing your faces and everything next to it. We can resize it by rolling our mouse wheel the size of our selection, but we can do that later. Oh, yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to lock the loop into z-axis and align the axis, but for some reason at this point I'm not able to do that, but usually you are able to. There's always a reason you can't do something in Blender. When you get used to it, it gets easier. Now, I'm not going to take much more of your time, and in the next episode I'm going to show you how to model the rifle arm and give it more details and show you tips and other tricks to do that. This is for the first episode. Thank you all for joining me on this journey, and I would be really happy to know if you learned anything from my video. And if there's any questions you have, you can drop a comment, leave a like or a dislike if you didn't like the video. And see you in the next episode. Bye.